Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. You know who's not doing well today, though? How about Michigan? How about our boy Jim Harbaugh? And yes, as I said to lead the show, I apologize. I am sorry that this show has turned into Wolverine Talk with Torres. I didn't intend to talk Michigan every week, but every week with this program. And for the Michigan fans that listen, and I know you do listen, you're frustrated that I have to talk about you guys every week. You just want an easy win. But every week it's a new story, right? 2 weeks ago, they beat Minnesota. Minnesota's ranked, coming off a 10-win season. You're kind of sitting there saying, this Michigan team might be pretty good. They might be figuring out this high-powered, fast-paced offense under Josh Gaddis. Then last week happens with Michigan State, and you say, oh my God, what the heck just happened? Well, it's okay. It's one loss. We'll get through it. We'll be fine. We'll bounce back. We got Indiana. We'll prove that we're there, all that stuff. And then the Indiana game happens. And with due respect to Indiana, I know they were ranked in the top 15. I know they were 2-0. But you are Michigan. You are Indiana. And with no disrespect intended to Indiana, Michigan can not only not lose to Indiana, you cannot lose the way that you did. 38-21 the final score. Michigan dominated from start to finish. And so the reason I'm talking Michigan again is not because I'm talking about a bad 1-2 team that is frankly irrelevant. I'm talking about Michigan because for the first time, me, who has largely been a Jim Harbaugh defender, one, I'm willing to admit I was wrong, but two, I'm going to say something that I never thought I was going to say again before. I don't think Jim Harbaugh's back next year. And I don't blame Michigan fans. I don't blame Jim Harbaugh. I don't blame anybody. But we are at a point now where it feels like this marriage is not built to last. It's not built for the long haul. And for reasons that I'm about to explain, I just don't see Jim Harbaugh being back next year. And before we get into yesterday's game, I do want to talk about the bigger picture because I do think it's important here, and I do think that there are two things that can be true about Jim Harbaugh, and I always bring them up because I think they're important. Whenever anybody in the national media, he's the most overrated coach in the history of college football. No, he's not. Stop. He's not the most overrated coach in the history of college football. And the one thing, no matter what you think about Jim Harbaugh today, November 9th, 2020, no matter what you think about him, the one thing that you can't deny is this. This program is in a better place today than it was when Jim Harbaugh arrived, okay? I threw out this stat last Monday, so I'm not going to get too crazy going over it again. But Lloyd Carr retired in 2007. There were 7 seasons between when Lloyd Carr retired and when Jim Harbaugh got there. 1 10-win season out of 7, 1 8-win season out of 7, 2 7-win seasons, and 3 losing seasons, okay? So essentially 1 great 10-win season, everything else 8 wins or worse. Jim Harbaugh is now in year 6, which means he's completed 5 seasons, 3 10-win seasons, 1 9-win season, 1 8-win season, okay? So whatever is happening right now with Jim Harbaugh, you cannot deny that the program is in a better place than it was when he got there. There is just, in fact, one problem. And that is that it is not only not in that place that it was in year 1 and year 2, it's going the other way it's going in the other direction really fast, and there doesn't appear to be any reason to believe that things are going to get better, okay? Because when I watch Michigan on Saturday, like if you go back to the first few years of the Harbaugh era at Michigan, you could at least hang your hat on a few things, right? You could hang your hat. They're going to run the ball. They're going to control the line of scrimmage. They're going to dominate the trenches. They're going to beat bad teams. They're going to beat the teams they're supposed to. They might not beat Ohio State, might not beat Bama or Florida State in a bowl game, but they're going to take care of the teams they're supposed to, and they're going to play really great defense. And when I watched Michigan on Saturday, it wasn't just that they lost to Indiana. It was that as I watched the game, I didn't see a single thing that they did that I believe they do at an above average Power 5 level. In other words, if you take the average Power 5 team, I think Michigan is below average in just about every single category. I watched them. I'm telling you. They can't block up front. Joe Milton is not accurate at all. Part of it is he doesn't have much time to throw because the offensive line is bad. The wide receivers can't catch. The defensive backs can't cover anybody. They can't tackle in the open field. They don't do anything at an above average Power 5 level. Maybe the running backs are really good. They looked really good against Minnesota, but since they can't block up front, we really don't know. And so when I look at this program, it is not only trending in the wrong direction, but it's trending the wrong direction in a hurry, and there is no reason to think that it's going to get better. Again, what I said a minute ago, at least in the old days, you knew that Don Brown was going to have the defense ready for everybody except Ohio State. They were going to get gashed by Ohio State, but at least they were going to be great against Indiana. At least they were going to be great against Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, anybody that they played other than Ohio State. And I understand there was the occasional loss to Michigan State. There was the occasional loss to Penn State. I'm not saying they were perfect. What I'm saying is we had about a 3.5, 4-year track record where, for the most part, they won all the games they were supposed to. Now you look at this situation and you see what's going on at Michigan, and I'm sorry, but what optimism is there going forward? What reason is there to believe that things are going to get better? I was talking about this on my radio show Saturday night, Fox Sports Radio. You look at the schedule. Where is the game that you feel like, okay, that is for sure a win? First of all, they're supposed to play Wisconsin this week. Best thing that ever happened to this football program, Michigan, is that Wisconsin got COVID. They might not be able to play because if they play that game, they might end up getting embarrassed. Outside of Wisconsin, I mean, Maryland's 2-1. You can make fun of Maryland. I have made fun of Maryland. They're playing good. They just destroyed Penn State at Penn State. Rutgers, for the love of God, Rutgers played Indiana tougher than Michigan did this year. Rutgers actually gave Indiana a game. Michigan, it wasn't even competitive. And so you look at the schedule, like forget trying to beat Ohio State. Like I think it's going to be a challenge to beat Maryland. I think it's going to be a challenge to beat Penn State, who's terrible. And it does fall on Harbaugh, and it does fall on the coaching staff. And I understand there's all these different variables at play. He changed the offense, Don Brown, whatever. I'm just telling you it's not working. And not only is it not working, it is getting worse. It is getting worse in a hurry. And the gap between Michigan and everybody else is getting wider as we go on day by day. And what's most interesting is I know we have some Michigan fans that listen to this show, but for people who aren't Michigan fans, this is an important fact. This is why it's so interesting. Not just because Michigan stinks, but because Jim Harbaugh has a very wild contract situation. For people who do not know, Jim Harbaugh has the shortest contract currently in all of college football, all of FBS football. He is only under contract until the end of next season. And for people who don't really follow this stuff, the reason that's important is a couple things. Virtually every coach has a rolling contract that's at least 4 years long. And the reason being is it's hard to go into a recruit's home and tell a kid and tell mom and dad, hey, come play for me when you only got 1, 2, or 3 years left on the contract. So you want me to send your son to play for you when you only got 2 years left? You might not be here in a year and a half. And when you look at Jim Harbaugh, the situation with his contract is very simple. He signed through 2021. He was negotiating an extension during the wintertime, and then the pandemic hit. And Jim Harbaugh, actually, you can say whatever you want about Jim Harbaugh, but in good faith, he put aside the contract extension because he just kind of said, like, it's going to look really bad if we announce a big contract extension in the middle of a pandemic. And he ended up screwing himself. Because what I can tell you is this. I know some high-powered people at Michigan through third parties and things like that. I'm not claiming to be Adam Schefter. I can get anybody on the phone. But I know what is going on at Michigan right now. And I know that even after the Michigan State game last week, the big boosters were willing to say, it happened, it's a one-off deal, whatever. What I can definitively tell you is when they lost to Indiana, the narrative completely changed. No longer was it just, well, it's one game, who knows, let's see if we can bounce back, whatever. No. Now it's, we lost to Michigan State, we got embarrassed by Indiana. And if you're a Michigan fan, if you're a Michigan alum, if you're a Michigan football player, you can never lose to Indiana. Inexcusable. Cannot do it. Cannot do it. You cannot lose to Indiana. I don't care how good Indiana is. You're Michigan. They're Indiana. You got to beat them. And if you don't beat them, you got to at least be competitive. 38-21. And like I said, Michigan doesn't do anything that makes you think that they're going to turn the season around. And so what I've heard, those big boosters are like, dude, we were going to give you that contract extension even after the Michigan State game. But now, how can we do that? And so I think it makes for a fascinating situation for the two reasons that I mentioned. I don't think Michigan really even wants to get rid of Harbaugh, but they know that they can't go on the way that they are, which is losing to inferior programs. No disrespect, Indiana, it's the truth. But you can't extend Harbaugh because everything's trending in the wrong direction. And if you bring back Harbaugh for next season without the extension, how do you expect him to recruit not only for this year, but for the following year? How do you expect him to recruit anybody when nobody knows if he's going to be there beyond this year? And so what I'm hearing is that it is increasingly more and more and more likely that at the end of the season, this is just over. That at the end of the season, Jim Harbaugh, who always will have interest from the NFL, eventually will hear from the NFL and will eventually take a job in the NFL. And I don't think he wants to. I don't even know if the university wants to. But again, you can't bring him back on a one-year contract and expect him to be able to recruit and continue to hopefully build this program in the right direction. Can't really give him a contract extension when he stinks, though, and you certainly can't give him a contract extension in the middle of a pandemic paying him what he was. So it's surreal, it's crazy, but this is the first time that I really feel like this thing is going in the wrong direction. It's going in the wrong direction in a hurry.